I wanted to talk. Been talking to people about this for years. Tried to talk to some politicians. I've been kind of proactive, but throughout my voting years. Now, I always thought that this should be made a law that every attorney out there have legal malpractice insurance, because every lawyer out there knowingly and willingly violates the rules of professional conduct. That's how you get this malicious prosecution. That's why nobody mentions in criminal court. I talked to you about in another video about probable cause hearings. Those should be first and foremost in any criminal trial, establish probable cause for arrest, and they can't do that, I've helped people with civil cases, and lawyers withheld evidence, refused to, allow their attorneys, allow their clients, any access to any litigation. They didn't let them know, kept them in the dark. So, communication is mandatory in the rules of professional conduct, so that, it's easy to violate the rules of professional conduct. And you violate one rule of professional conduct, you wind up violating multiple. You cannot just violate one rule without violating multiple rules. And in the rules of professional conduct, as well as the code of judicial conduct, it's mandatory to report misconduct. Failure to report misconduct is misconduct. So everybody's legally required to report each other. The judge is supposed to report the lawyers for misconduct, for failure to abide by the rules of professional conduct. They're supposed to cite the judge for failure to abide by the code of judicial conduct, because it's required to report any misconduct in the codes or the rules, and the judge didn't report all the lawyers involved in the case for misconduct. So that's legal malpractice. Okay, but right now, in most states, legal malpractice insurance isn't mandatory, so it's left up to the taxpayer to pay the expenses. Now, if they had legal malpractice insurance, the insurance company would have to keep tabs on them on whether or not they're violating the law. And the rules of professional conduct and the code of judicial conduct, those are all laws. Okay, those are laws within the court of laws. You just don't know about them because maybe this is the first time you're hearing about them. But look it up on the internet, rules of professional conduct, code of judicial conduct. You'll find that those are the legal obligations of all lawyers and judges. All lawyers and judges, no matter what court you're in. So always remember, if it didn't start out this way when you read the rules of professional conduct and the code of judicial conduct, what you're going through now, what happened in the past is null and void. It should have never happened, because what happened in the beginning didn't. What's supposed to happen in the beginning didn't. So if all attorneys in every state were required to have legal malpractice insurance, can you imagine how much money you would save the taxpayers? When these lawyers and judges get sued for malfeasance, for failure to live up to the oath. They all take an oath, not just the oath of office, but the oath of public service. Those are literally two different oaths. And violating the oath is mandatory fines, removal from public service, and incarceration. So that's probably why you're not hearing about that. But you can look that up on the net. Just Google penalties for violating the oath of office, penalties for violating the oath of public service, and you'll find exactly what I'm speaking about. So anyways, you see politicians talking about saving the taxpayer money. This would save the taxpayers billions across the country. I'm from Chicago, and taxpayers been paying a lot because cops violating the oath, lawyers violating the oath. The only reason cops get away with violating the oath because the lawyers aided and assisted. You got to understand, all I'm doing is trying to break the code of silence, and when it comes to public servants, they all back each other. I mean, if nobody's reporting each other, I filed complaints with the ARDC, Attorney Registration Disciplinary Commission. Now it's called the IARDC, Illinois Attorney Registration Disciplinary Commission, Judicial Inquiry Board, which is now called the Illinois Judicial Inquiry Board. And they won't answer my complaints. And one complaint they did answer, it took me like 10 years before I ever got an answer. And I think they were just being arrogant. But I filed a complaint against the state's attorney's office for multiple Brady violations, but I also cited my attorney for ineffective assistance of counsel. The state's attorney's failure to report my attorney for ineffective assistance of counsel. The state's attorney's neglect to report the judge for violations of the Code of Judicial Conduct. The state's attorney's neglect to report themselves for the violations of the Rules of Professional Conduct, specifically Rule 3.8, Special Rules of the Prosecutor. Withholding exculpatory evidence, falsifying documents. And I gave them everything, but they investigated themselves and found they did nothing wrong. But if every lawyer had to have legal malpractice insurance, they wouldn't dare violate the rules of professional conduct or allow any judge to violate the Code of Judicial Conduct, because that would mean they would lose their license to practice. And they wouldn't be able to get a job anywhere in that state, and I seriously doubt anywhere in the country. Not unless the legal malpractice insurance company if they move to another state, the insurance company will raise their premiums, and eventually they'll be paying more to the insurance company than they could make from you. Okay, so that's all I wanted to talk to you about, legal malpractice insurance. So please, people, call your senators, all your congressmen, senators, House of Representatives, call your governor, talk to your aldermen, call the president, call the White House. They're damn set on saving the taxpayers' money, make it mandatory in every state that every attorney have legal malpractice insurance, so that way it'll save the taxpayers' money on any future lawsuits, when lawyers, judges, cops, any public servant. Look up Google list of public servants, and you'll find that anybody paycheck that comes from taxpayer dollars is a public servant. They like to say government checks. They don't get government checks. They get taxpayer dollar checks, okay? Let's give a definition to that, all right? Your taxpayer, and remember, the taxes, that money, the IRS, tax collection, all that is part of the public trust. If you look up the public trust, okay? And the public trust belongs to we the people, so all of you are trust fund babies, okay? So whatever's in the public trust, and it clearly states in the Rules of Professional Conduct, everybody in the legal system in the public interest is required to maintain the public trust. And since I can remember, they've been selling off the public trust like crazy, Look what they're trying to do to the public school systems. That's the public trust. That belongs to the public. And they're taking taxpayer dollars and putting them in private institutions. No, that's supposed to be left up to the private institutions through their legacy contacts, donations. No, taxpayer dollars, that's in the public interest. Anything private, well, it should be left private. And if it was mandatory for everybody to have legal malpractice insurance, nobody would be trying that. You think they'd be messing with Social Security? Social Security was created in the public interest, thus became part of the public trust. So everybody in public service is required in the public interest to maintain the public trust, especially in the legal system. Okay, and all you got to do is read the Rules of Professional Conduct. It's in their preamble. This is the legal obligations of all lawyers and judges, of all public servants. Okay, so I'm just trying to do my best to try to get you into looking up the law. A lot of you ask questions. People have asked me questions on the internet over for years, and that's why I developed my page, Legal Reform. So I can answer a lot of these questions for everybody, but all at one time instead of doing it privately in comments and private chats. And, everybody asks the same questions and it comes out to the same thing. And some people tell me, I got a civil case. I don't need to hear about no criminal law, or, this is child custody. I don't need to hear about any civil case. They fail to recognize, and I keep trying to explain to them, the rules of professional conduct and the code of judicial conduct are the common denominator in every court. These are the laws within a court of law. So if this is not happening, which it doesn't, it's supposed to start off from the very beginning, but you'll have to read the rules and the codes. I've read them for people. They understood me explicitly. Told me I sound like a lawyer. I just don't use all that legal mumbo jumbo. And in actuality, all I'm doing is quoting the law word for word. When I was younger, my memory was a lot better, but some sheriffs, I was going to present this in court, go in there and reveal this conspiracy to deprive rights under the color of law. And mistakenly, my arrogance, when I told I got locked up, I was complaining. The lawyer came back there to talk to me. I said, yeah, wait till I get out there. I said, see what happens. He said, what could you possibly say to change the judge's mind? I said, reporting misconduct is mandatory in the rules of professional conduct and the code of judicial conduct. And he ran out of there and told the judge. And they didn't take me back to court. They took me down into the tombs, got me back to Division 2, and beat the life out of me, nearly crushed my skull. They caved in, my genital area. Always thought I'd have kids. No biological kids because of that. But either way, I'm going to keep pushing with that conspiracy to deprive rights under the color of law. If you look it up, it's a legal term, and then you understand what you're going through, what everybody's going through in every court of law. They are going through the conspiracy against rights under the color of law. Okay, and that's actually 3 different terms. You know what a conspiracy is? To deprive rights, to deprive you of your constitutional rights. And then the 3rd term, under the color of law. You think it's legal because lawyers and judges and Congress did this to you, but it's not actually legal because it violates the law, specifically the rule of law. All laws are everybody's equal under the law. All laws are supposed to apply equally to everybody, but they don't. You have the statistics. I heard Bernie Sanders give the statistics on how the laws don't apply equally. Well, Bernie Sanders, hit me up. I'd really like to give you some laws, some legal ammunition to go along with everything you talk about. You and I have been talking about the same thing for nearly the same amount of time, except for I use the law. So I really like to talk to you, politically. I'm not involved. I'm apolitical, always been apolitical AF. Okay, always be apolitical AF. I'm a constitutionalist. I believe all the laws should apply equally to everybody. Now, there's a lot of laws that people aren't talking about that aren't being used and aren't being enforced. Bernie, AOC, look up the public trust doctrine. Anybody could look up the public trust doctrine. You can take the green out of the Green New Deal because the green is in the public trust doctrine. Okay, everybody's supposed to protect, everybody in the legal system is supposed to protect our lands, the water, the air, the animals. Just look up the public trust doctrine. All right, like I said, I'm not into politics, but you two, I heard mention about the air quality. That's why the EPA was created. The EPA was created in the public interest, thus became part of the public trust. So the EPA only has their loyalties to we the people, as their oath says. Same thing with the DOJ, the FBI. They owe no loyalties. No public servant owes any loyalty to a politician or a political party. Their oath requires them to serve the public interest and maintain the public trust. They took an oath to we the people. Okay? I really wish that I could get some of you to get on this, start calling your politicians, if you have a problem with a lawyer, learn how to own and operate them, pull out their owner's operator manual, the rules of professional conduct before you step in front of a judge, know what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do, their legal responsibilities to you. That's in the Code of Judicial Conduct, okay? And they don't do that. All you got to do is read it, and they won't do it. When I read it to people, it sounds great to them. They understand it easily, but when I give it to them to read, I don't know if they can read because they look at me real angry. I had people yell at me, why I gotta know this if it's their job? Well, because they won't do it because you don't know what their job is. There's a lot of things you think that are illegal, but you don't know what to say. You can't prove it. Yes, you can. You can prove it with the rules of professional conduct and the Code of Judicial Conduct. I got some guy out of prison in Centralia back in 91 on a late notice of appeal, and it was based on a conspiracy against rights under the color of law. I cited the judge for judicial misconduct, the lawyers for ineffective assistance of counsel, his lawyer for ineffective assistance of counsel. His lawyer took the money, $7,500, but didn't file the appeal in a timely manner, which he thought he lost his right to appeal. The lawyer didn't refund the money, laughed it off, told him, what you gonna do? And somebody told him to talk to me. He talked to me. I didn't have the laws, but my memory was still pretty good at the time. And I basically just quoted the rules of professional conduct and the Code of Judicial Conduct. And as I said, nobody can violate just one rule of the professional conduct without violating multiple rules. Nobody can violate one code in the Code of Judicial Conduct without violating multiple codes. And thus, that's violating the Sixth Amendment of the United States Constitution. And remember, the United States Constitution is supreme law above laws. Even the states, no state can violate the U.S. Constitution, can make laws that violate the U.S. Constitution, because if they do, it makes it null and void. All right? The supreme U.S. laws, Constitution holds precedent over your state. Okay, so I don't know why Congress hasn't done this before, made legal malpractice insurance mandatory. They've done it for doctors, but the same thing, they're public servants, and we'll get into that later about breaking the code of silence, with the AMA. Okay, but right now I'm discussing attorneys and lawyers. You may want to compare your state version of the rules of professional conduct and the Code of Judicial Conduct with the ABA, American Bar Association, Code of Judicial Conduct and Rules of Professional Conduct, because those are the model rules and codes which every state's supposed to use, and some of them eliminated some of the rules and codes, and they can't do that. That's illegal because that's in the interest of the bar, not in the public interest. They cannot do anything. It's in the interest of the bar. But you would have to actually read the preamble and the rules of professional conduct to understand that. And they may say, the judges, we don't have to do that. No, you were lawyers before judges, and you know that everything in the rules of professional conduct have to be done first. That's why you're sitting there. You're making sure everybody goes by law, abides by law, especially the laws within the court of law, which are the rules of professional conduct and the Code of Judicial Conduct. And if we had attorney malpractice insurance in all our fine states, in all our colonies, what do they call them, commonwealths? let's just say colonies, okay, keep it in layman's terms, all these colonies, they don't have the same rights we do. We have our constitutional rights when we go there, but they don't have those, which is, why not just make them states? Guam, Puerto Rico, I don't know, but that would have to be up to them. Canada said no already. They don't want to be a state, so that's null and void. It's not like you can make Canada be a state, But either way, there was a lot of things that wouldn't be happening that do happen if attorney malpractice insurance was mandatory for every lawyer in the United States. Okay, because the insurance companies would make sure that they don't violate the rules or the codes, and might do their best to educate you about the rules and the codes as much as I've been trying. And I've been trying since 1979 when I first read the rules of professional conduct and the code of judicial conduct. I wasn't even old enough to graduate high school. I was just on a quest to find out what due process was. Granted, it took me a long time. I started when I was 10 years old, didn't find it till I was 17 years and 10 months. Pretty long time to find out exactly what due process is, especially with everybody refusing to tell you. It's not something they teach you in school. From my information, they only teach you in college. And what are they teaching you in college? To manipulate the law? Over abiding by it? So when you take an oath to the Constitution, when you took an oath to the Constitution to serve and protect the Constitution, you took an oath to serve and protect the people it was dedicated to, we the people. That's a conspiracy against rights under the color of law. Look it up, my good people, my fellow citizens. Look it up. It's on the net. A conspiracy against rights under the color of law. It's 3 legal terms combined, okay? That's what you're dealing with. That's what I've been dealing with all my life. That's what you've been dealing with, no matter what court you go in. No matter what court, from traffic court to the U.S. Supreme Court. The rules and the codes do not apply. But if you take them with you, they will. They will. You go in court, you go on the record, and I can't guarantee you that they'll pay attention, because I've been teaching people for years, and the judges will, and the lawyers, they will talk over you, totally ignore you. The clerk will stop typing. The clerk's office won't give you the record. I filed for discovery on multiple cases. They kept telling me how much money it was. I filed a fee waiver. Before that, it was a waiver of fees. I remember when it was motion of pauperis. Before that, it was it was an indigent statement, and then before that, it was a motion of pauperis. I think in 79, 80 was a motion of pauperis. Later on, it became an indigent statement, and then later on, a waiver of fees, and now it's just a fee waiver to avoid court costs. And they would tell me, no, that's only, they'd make up all kinds of stuff. If you don't have the money and you can't afford it, you just put in a waiver of fees and you get it for free. But the clerk's office will often say, well, what part? You know how much money it costs? Like trying to make you feel like you're doing something wrong. No, it's them that's doing something wrong. Remember, the clerk's office, they're there to serve the public. They're public servants. They're not any under legal obligations to any lawyer, any judge, any court. They are there to serve the people. They are public servants. Look up the clerk's office, look up the oath of public service, look up the oath of office. And you'll have to remind them because they will play stupid. Every time I've helped somebody and battled with lawyers and judges, the clerk's office, you name it, they all act stupid. I feel like I walked into that movie, Idiocracy. Honestly, and you will too if you read the rules, the codes. And remember, anytime you read the law, use the letter of the law. The letter of the law requires any interpretation of any law. Anything written, it must be done word for word to the letter, so we all see, hear, and say the same thing. Okay, that's a requirement which lawyers and judges don't like to go. They like to go by feelings. They make stuff up. Always bring up the letter of the law, and anytime anybody tries to give you an interpretation. And please, people, I know you're not listening to all my other videos, but please listen to this one. You know, it's your right. I mean, it would be in the public interest to maintain the public trust that every attorney have legal malpractice insurance. You know, in every court, in any court. Okay? I'm doing my best to look out for you. I've been doing it for years. You know, that's why on my page Legal Reform, I have this thing called the Protege Project. I only got one volunteer. One volunteer. But he's good. He's a badass. He's going to get his kid back. He's going to get his house back. He's already getting some money back from the courts. He's developing an expertise in child court. But see, he didn't know the things I was talking about, which was a conspiracy against rights under the color of law. So I literally had to explain to him what didn't happen in the beginning. How it was supposed to start out didn't happen, so left everything he went through and what he's going through null and void. None of that should have happened because nobody did what they were supposed to in the beginning. And now he understands completely. This guy is the bomb. So hopefully he'll take over for me in the future. You know, this is for John Q. Public, Jane Q. Public, Average Joe, and Average Joanne. All right. The only way you'll ever see a fair trial, the only way you'll ever achieve due process, the only way you'll ever have effective assistance of counsel is until you get that law degree to compete with your defective, destructive, ineffective assistance of counsel. If your lawyer hasn't talked to you, because communication is mandatory in the rules of professional conduct, did they communicate to you? Before anything can proceed in a court of law, it is mandatory for you to give informed consent. And in order for you to give informed consent, you need reasonable knowledge to make an informed decision in order to give informed consent. And your lawyer going over the rules of professional conduct with you, or at least letting you know about them and asking you to study them and understand them, then you can give that informed consent. But most of you are oblivious to anything and everything I'm talking to you about. But don't be. I have a page of Legal Reform, YouTube channel. I post my videos everywhere I can on the internet. I'm an old guy. I'm what you young folks call the boomer, so I'm not that educated when it comes to social networking. You know, and actually, I spent most of my free time doing this, going to courts, local courts, criminal court, civil court, divorce court, child custody court, wherever I can. Some people tell me mind your own business. But when it comes to we the people and the conspiracy against rights under the color of law, that is my damn business. When I take the oath, not the oath, but it is an oath, a citizen's oath, the Pledge of Allegiance. When I pledge allegiance to that flag, I pledge allegiance to what it stood for, the Constitution, and who it was written to protect, serve and protect, we the people. That is my business. When it comes to the Constitution, the law, the rule of law, the letter of the law, the spirit of the law in its entirety. That is the content of my character, which makes we the people the content of my heart. Okay, so people, I really need you. I really, really need you to do this. We can save the taxpayers billions, possibly $1 trillion or $2 trillion, and we can get everything put back into the public trust that was taken out, everything medical, make politicians realize who they work for. They are nothing but public servants. They serve us, we don't serve them. They are there to maintain the public interest and to maintain the public trust. I'm not trying to get you to believe anything I'm saying. I'm just trying to get you to open your eyes, look it up, read it, open your mind. And if it does for me if it does for you what it did for me, it'll open your heart. That's all I'm trying to do. All right, and to a lot of yous I talk to, sorry when I get biblical on you. I was a preacher. I guess now I'm a teacher. I used to preach a lot. And a little too young, I guess. People used to call me the long-haired friend of Jesus. Now I have no hair. Went on top, so I just got rid of the rest. But either way, some people ask me why I do this, why I push so hard. I have a dream. One day, our nation will live up to its creed. Peace be with you.